Hello everyone, Leaners here. I hope I'm not making a controversial video today, because I'm not telling you how to do something or why you should do, well, maybe why I did something. I'm trying to share with you what happened to me, and the whole point of my channel is to show you my failures and my successes and share them, hoping that you may gain something of value and take away from this channel at the end of the day. So I just want to share with you what happened to me and what I believe to be the case. So over here, several weeks ago, I transferred these plants to wick. I took them from a finer soil that was a little, heavier. Heavier meaning it holds water more. And put them in a chunkier soil, a really light chunky soil, almost like pond. But it's still got peat moss in it, but it's like 75% perlite, so that they get good drainage. And the other 25% is all the goodies that I like to give my plants. And they almost died. 2 days later, they were just crashing quick, and I could see they were drowning. And I dumped their reservoirs immediately, and they recovered. They began to improve, and they recovered. So I have a theory behind why that happened. So I tested my theory on the next round, which is these guys that really did well. They didn't miss a beat. They went through the repot to a wick without any issue, and now that shelf, this shelf, and this shelf are all on wick. No issues. None. In fact, they're doing better than they've ever done. Other than you can see I stripped them down to 6 leaves. I think I said 3 in the last video. That was incorrect. I took them down to 6 leaves. 2 rows. Just because I'm kind of clumsy, and it made it easier for me to A, get in there and pot them, and B, going through the trauma of me tearing apart their roots to get all that fine soil out. They didn't have to maintain as much of a plant. So I took them down small. Some of them even got a partial decap, so I could switch them over to that soil. Some of them had long stems, so I wanted to do the partial decap just to get them tighter into the planter. So here's what I believe happened. Okay, you've got your vessel, okay, that holds the water, and at the bottom is your reservoir, and then you have your planter that your plant is in, and it's got little legs or whatever it's got to hold it up out of the reservoir, and then you have the wick that goes down into the reservoir. Well, I really tore those plants' roots up, pulling all that soil out of them, so I had to water them in pretty good when I put them in the chunkier, better draining mix. But nevertheless, this was not pond, this was my own mix, and it was about 25% soil and other things in it. And so I got them watered in because they were pretty disrupted, and I put them in the pot, and I filled the reservoir and stuck them in the pot. And 2 days later, I could see that they were failing quickly. They were literally drowning. And what I believe happened is physics. So I filled this pot, soaked it down. So basically the water level's up here, and the water needs to drain out, because we all know that that draining action actually draws air in. As the water drains down, it creates a suction on the surface, pulls air in, water drains out. But because I filled this reservoir right out of the gate, guess what? This water up here could not drain down here. As it tried, it got to about this level, but that just raised the level of the reservoir up alongside the pot. So now my plants were in a level of water that was all the way up to there. Which we all know you can't leave African violets in standing water with the roots below the water level, or you drown them. So I realized that when watering down this plant, I needed to let it drain for a little bit. Actually, I let it drain for about 3 days. And I can't advise how long anyone do it, because everybody's soil, the soil's ability to hang onto the water, the soil's ability to drain, and how much plant and root you have drinking it, and humidity, and temperature, and air, all these things are variables. So no two people have the same situation. But in my situation, it took about 3 days. I saw the roots start to partially dry up, but not bone dry. Then I filled the reservoir on the plants and gave a little sippy sip at the top just to prime that wick. Not to wet down. After I filled the reservoir, I did not wet this plant back down again. I just primed the wick, put it back in it, crisis averted. So I think I had to wait about 4 days on the ones that I almost drowned, 4 or 5 days. But then after that, the other 2 shelves, which are on top here, I didn't put any water in their reservoir. I let them dry up for a couple of days. And then I came in and saw that that wet wick, which had been helping the water drain down, was starting to dry up a little bit. And then I immediately filled the reservoir and primed the wick. This group did not miss a beat. They are just super perky, healthy, happy. Nobody had an issue one, and their colors are just crazy. They're just really, they're looking beautiful. And again, they were twice the size, but I took several rows of leaves off. They were big like these guys down here. All full. These guys are getting it done today. But, yeah, look how huge this plant is. Oh my goodness. That plant is just, it's a monster. I love this plant. It's real pretty. So yeah, lesson learned. I discovered for me, in my environment, with all of my environmental factors, that if I water the plant and then put it in a reservoir with water already in it, I'm going to kill my plants. They're just not going to thrive. But if I put that soaked plant that just got repotted, water it in, get it to seed in there nicely, and don't fill the reservoir, my plants do fine. This is me. This is my experience. And then wait a few days. Checking. And I was checking every day. I didn't just walk away and ignore it, you know. I found it takes about 3 days before I can go adding water to that reservoir. 2-3 days. You know, it varies. The temperature outside makes it vary. So I'm not going to stick steadfast to that number of days. I recommend anybody doing this, check. If you want to try what I did, check. Check your plants all the time. Always be assessing them to make sure that they're responding well to your conditions. But this is, I'm just telling you a failure I had. I almost lost these adults. And then these guys I talked about were in a really fine soil, because I used the fine perlite, which made the soil heavy when you watered it. It made it not drain well. And I almost lost them. So I'm just being transparent and showing you guys that, boy, I had a few scary days there. But crisis averted. I mean, everybody's doing great, and I've got a lot more plants to repot, so I will not waste any more of your time. I hope there's something you could take away from this, and you all have a lovely day.